Yo!
Video games.
What up, dudes, and welcome back to the YoVideogames podcast. I'm Matt.
And I'm Andrew.
And once again, thanks to our generous patrons who've kept us going for nearly 500 episodes.
Yeah, if you're interested in becoming a patron at any level, please check out patreon.com/YoVideogames podcast. Dude of the week is Gamma Gantle. Thank you, Gamma.
Thank you, Gamma. And yes, this is the big episode day because the Switch 2 is finally officially not just, hey, it exists. It's
fully
revealed,
announced,
priced, dated, everything. Launch games, launch lineup.
And we'll talk about price a little bit later and stuff, but I do want to say, so close. I said 400 in June. June 5th,
450 in June. But yeah, because I was saying around Memorial Day, and that's pretty close. So
we all got real close, but
we were just like right there. It was just around that sort of hub. And I think the idea is that like right as you get out of school, right before summer vacation, or right at the start of summer vacation. That's the idea here, right?
Yeah, I think it's definitely a summer thing. I also think they probably would have gone earlier if they could. I'm betting that all of this got set back because of the tariff stuff. I have a feeling that the timeline was set back.
Well, there's that, and then there's the idea that like maybe they were trying to build up stock, so it would be a huge amount in June rather than like a trickle out. So there's that, and I think that probably has like some factor at key in play there. So
did you see how they're gonna fight against scalpers? I saw
there is a thing where you can literally like register your interest in purchasing from them directly, which I did it like pretty much as it went up. And they're basically going to prioritize Nintendo people with a Nintendo account and a Nintendo Online subscription, which is yay. But it sounds like it's lottery. It doesn't sound like it's first come first serve. It's just like, hey, just put your intent in here, and we're just kind of like, on the 9th of April is when the pre-orders go live. Check your emails then, and then you can check other retailers on the 9th for it. So
you're going bundle, right?
Yeah, I'm just going to go bundle because great jumping off point because there is a $500 version with Mario Kart World. I love the name. Mario Kart World.
Yeah, it's good.
And I was looking at it, I'm like, so they sort of Burnout Paradise Mario Kart a little bit, but
I can see that. Yeah, I can totally see that.
But I like it because at first I was looking at it and they're like, oh, like brand new Mario Kart game like you've never seen before. And I'm like, oh no, I've seen this before. Yes, and yeah, you can. There's like 24 people in a race, which is the largest one ever.
Right.
And yeah, now you can parkour, you can wall hop, and that was it's kind of neat. That's kind of. But then they showed like how the real meat of the game, why it's called World, is that it's an interconnected. It is one giant interconnected open. I don't want to.
It is open world, but it's not open world necessarily.
Right. There's free roam. There's a free roam, so there's an open world thing. So all the courses exist, and there is space in between the courses when you drive from one race track to another.
Right.
So yeah, it's kind of like this. It's like an open world Mario Kart.
It's like Free Skate in Skate, which is all or like the open world part of the world map of Red Dead Redemption.
Yeah, something like that maybe.
Like, where that's going to be where we all hang out when we're just hanging out, right?
Yeah, because they have like multiplayer and free roam as well. So it sounds pretty cool. I like how the GP, they still have the GP where 4 courses, and it's just sort of like in a but the courses now is like you start race 1, you go through your laps, and then it's like now you drive to race 2. And then that's
how you get your positioning for race 2.
Yeah. And then they have beyond that, they have an elimination mode, which I would like. This is kind of like the BR mode, as like, if you're not in a certain place by the end of this race, you get eliminated from the game. So you got to be in at least 16th place or 8th place.
Right.
Like it just like, trickles down. Now other racing games have had that, but this sounds kind of cool because it's like, okay, you're racing course and then you have to drive the next course and then get in there and start doing that. So I'm excited. I'm kind of excited. That's kind of nice. Again, 24 characters. I mean, we have baby of everything now, but
Yeah.
like now you can be a cow from Moo Moo Meadows.
Yes, you can.
So, and rail grinding is also a thing in this game because why not?
And dirt bikes. And I didn't really play a ton of Mario Kart 8 because I didn't buy it myself. I only played it when I came over to like
Yeah,
game nights or stuff like that. And I don't remember there being. Is that just like I don't remember motorcycles being a thing in
motorcycles have
8?
been a thing since the Wii game.
Is it really? I
Yeah,
remember like with like wings and planes and
the
versions
wing.
like that.
Well, the motorcycle got introduced in the Wii game, and then yeah, they had like hover and little underwater propellers and
Right.
hang gliders, starting with 7, and it was a 7 and 8. 7 and 8 are very similar in that respect, but
See, I
yeah,
remember all that, but I didn't remember like dirt bikes and stuff. And so I was sitting there stoked about dirt bikes. And then my wife, who I was telling about, was just like, "Yeah, you could do that before." And I was like, "Could you?"
yeah,
It's truly I've been getting hit with like a lot of like, am I old
yes.
moments? Like I'm getting hit with like a lot of moments where like this is so cool. It's like that is a feature that has been around for a long time, man. It's just makes me sad. Like also the amount of people stoked about a chat feature. Like, yes, that was an annoying part of the Switch one, but like it's got to be Gen Alpha that is just sitting there, just like, yes, chat,
Yeah,
finally, chat's amazing.
I
And it's like
mean,
it's just Discord.
it's a weird thing that like their biggest, longest described selling point of the system is that it launches its own internal Discord app
Yeah, and a
first.
camera.
And you can buy a $50 USB camera with it to go along with it. The microphone is on the console itself, and
Weird.
it uses noise cancellation, noise gate, noise reduction on it. And
No way, it sounds good, right?
they say it sounds crystal clear or whatever, and then it uses that NVIDIA thing, which you can do now, where it instead of needing a green screen, it kind of just like outlines you and then like
Mhm.
changes the background behind you like through AI basically.
Yeah,
So
phones and Zoom have been doing that forever.
right, so my thing is, I'm a content creator. I'm a streamer. I use Discord. I don't really care about this. Like, there is a convenience factor here, right? Because it's okay. You can put it in front of a TV. You don't need a computer. You don't need to be logged into Discord. You don't need
Yeah.
to be using your phone. You can just use it on the console that's right there. And use a camera, assuming you buy the little USB camera and have it set up next to your TV as well. Um, but yeah, so it's like it simplifies things, but it's also like this is a feature we all kind of already use now. So again, if you're a couch, if you're literally a couch player, you don't play on a monitor, you don't play on your
Right.
computer desktop. Pretty cool.
And
For
if your only console is the Switch one and you're going up to the Switch 2, you're not going to own the other consoles and stuff, which I would assume is the vast majority of players that are going to buy the Switch 2 necessarily. Um,
I don't know, man. It's like
that's got to be pretty slick. I mean, we should talk about that. Let's talk about in a vacuum. You mentioned this before we started
yeah.
recording, and I thought it was a really great point. In a vacuum, this is one of the best directs they've had in, I don't know, 5 years, 6 years.
I mean, it's certainly a bounce back from that one the last week's direct, which was like, whoa.
Yeah, well, that's the tail end. I'm never gonna hold the tail end direct against them, but like the games that you're getting, yeah, okay, they're on tons of other stuff, a lot of them, but they're all good games. And
Yeah, there was definitely like a cherry. It felt like a cherry picking of titles here. It wasn't, except
right,
for like say WWE 2K or whatever. I'm like, okay,
the
whatever.
best game ever made.
Borderlands 4. I'm like, ugh.
I forgot about Randy Pitchford. His hairstyle, normally Randy's quite stylish, but today he just
I feel like his hair is
didn't
about
have
to
it.
turn into some albatross and take off and fly away.
Look, Randy has panache. Okay. He dresses like a magician. Actually, he is a magician, right?
He
He
is a
does.
magician.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dresses like a magician. And I'm not even saying that with hate. Like, genuinely, when Randy shows up, is there cocaine involved? Probably, but I'm at least entertained for his
Oh,
entire
there's magic
presentation.
involved.
There's lots of magic,
Magic and pixie dust.
meth. Um, but this time is the plainest he's ever looked. So maybe he's in rehab.
And it still looked like he was a magician.
It still looked well. Man loves magic. I had a funny like God, I'm blanking on who it is that like tweeted Jeff Keighley and was all like, if this man is right about 400 in June, you got to tell him, where the diamonds are. And I was like, I just want Jeff to tell me if that story's real.
I don't think that story's public, so let's not go into it.
I will also tell an embarrassing story if Jeff tells me that story. That's all I want to know. It's just same thing with Randy. I would do a game night with Randy. I would show up after he's done all his drugs. I don't want to do all the drugs. I'm saying, like, I'll show up, like, if he's having a Mario Party night, part of me is like, yeah, there's gonna be strippers there. Randy loves strippers. Have I ever had a single great time with a stripper? No, it's always been weird. It's gotten weird for me real fast. Is this gonna be different? No, Randy Pitchford's there. It's gonna get weird. But that's a story. What I'm saying, Randy, is we can party together, man. We could. Don't pee on me.
I don't know if this is a pitch to party or a pitch to for trying to get slandered for libel or something.
No, I mean, I'm just joking around. I don't know what Randy does in his free time. I mean, speculation.
He goes to medieval times.
Hell yeah, he does. I go to medieval times. Do we do the same things there? No. I try to leave with all my belongings. But anyway, yeah, no, in a vacuum, this is, I don't know. I thought it was an A+. Like, I thought it was great.
It's not as okay. I'm going to be real here, and this is not hitting as hard for me as the Switch 1 presentation, and it's because Nintendo's not on its back, not on its heels back against a wall. Because that was January 2017. Nintendo was like, if we don't sell this, we're toast. Not like toast as a whole company, but like we have to convince people to like really come back to us. This was like, we really got to convince people to come back to Nintendo. This was, we're highly successful. We're highly successful. Here's basically the stuff you want to know about for the first 6 months, because here's the crazy thing. All of the new games they announced are within 3 months.
Yeah.
Like, they didn't even announce fall games. Like, their fall games, as far as we can tell, is Metroid Prime 4 announced, shown. Pokemon Zazaza announced, shown. Maybe like maybe like an update to like Mario Party Jamboree. I don't know when that the Jamboree's like late July.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think there's like maybe
Metroid Prime 4 looked great, right? That wasn't just me. Like, it looked pretty good.
okay. I mean, the fact that they're sitting there like it's going to play 4K 60 on a Switch 2 or 1080 120.
Like, I know people are going to get a little bit mad about this. Like, okay, the Switch 2 is not going to be some insane powerhouse that's going to beat a ROG Ally or whatever, but it looks pretty good.
Yeah,
I mean, it's pretty good.
The fact that they're going to hit 4K 60 on Prime 4 is pretty mind-blowing. Or honestly, 1080 120 is even more mind-blowing. I called the mouse thing.
Yeah.
And they literally showed it. They showed it exactly as I demonstrated it. One left hand on the stick and the right hand on the mouse. And there's a mouse mode with your left thumb controlling the up, down, strafe, left, right. I knew that was going to happen.
40K called pretty much exactly what they were going to use the mouse for, generally speaking. Although, let's talk about one way they're going to use the mouse that I never would have. They did a wheelchair basketball game.
Yeah.
In a million years, I never would have guessed. Now, I don't know if it's going to be fun to play. I don't know if that's going to be fun. But part of me is just like, do you remember in the 80s they made a thing out of wheelchair basketball being a thing in movies?
It's got a whole league too.
Yeah, it's huge. But like in the 80s is the last time I can think about where they made a like, oh, this character, what makes him unique? He's in a wheelchair basketball league, so he's actually quite fit. Like, there was like a Paul Hogan movie that had like, it was just like a thing in the 80s. Like, if the character was a wheelchair character, he played wheelchair basketball to show he was still quite capable. That kind of thing. And so it was just like I got like a weird hit of nostalgia from it where I was just like, oh, okay, yeah.
I was mostly kind of like kind of bewildered by the presentation of Drag X Drive, because there was like no background, there was like no music either.
Right.
It was like this really, it felt like they were showing us some very concept tech demo thing that they were fooling around with. They're like, yeah, there's a whole game coming out in summer. I'm like, it
No, it
is.
turns out the tech demo is going to be $80 though. So enjoy that.
Very
No,
bizarre.
it was. Yeah, I never would have. If you would have asked me to guess a game that was coming out, like that, never would have been a game
Yeah,
that I
I
would guess.
never would have thought the mouse controls were going to be used for wheelchair basketball. So
Yeah, sort of cool and inventive, but I have no idea who is necessarily gonna. Then again, I wasn't really sure about like arms, and arms
right,
ended
this
up being
is this
great.
is very
So
clearly their arms game. I just wish there was more like pizzazz presentation to it. Like
yeah,
arms had a very unique style and look, and this is very much just kind of like, yeah, there's some like Daft Punk looking dudes in wheelchairs. That's kind of it. We don't even have a background. Like
yeah. There's not really a
something super bizarre about the way the whole thing just played out. Like I don't
and
I don't, I don't know.
they presented it like it was going to be a Rocket League esque. Like they presented it like that,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
but also it's too slow, right? Like it's not going to be like if you've got a like you're not going to necessarily go super fast, right?
Right.
Like I'm not trying to be
I
a
mean, I
dick
think a
either. I'm
lot of
just
it's more about like passing and sort of like,
right.
like rolling
Teamwork
up to
and
dunk and yeah. I don't know.
it's just it felt like the aesthetics was a little bit Rocket Leaguey.
Mhm.
I don't know. It was a genuinely again shocking choice. And I'm not even I know that that could come off because I've seen other people talk about this where it comes off a little douchey. I'm not trying to be that way at all. I'm not making fun of this at all. I'm just saying, like, I never would have
Oh, well, I'm looking at their official press release. It's pronounced drag and drive. It's not drag X drive or drag cross drive. It's drag and drive.
drag and drive.
I don't know why they didn't just put an and there, and symbol, but not an X, but whatever. Um,
Huh, I don't know. But like, I don't know what kind of market it'll find, but it's going to be an interesting tech
well, it's
demo
definitely
game.
one of those like, hey, this is the kind of game that can only really exist at the launch, because
Right.
people will be hungry for a new, unique experience more than ever at launch. So that's the time.
Yeah.
Uh,
And again, like, just because I can't imagine it taking off doesn't mean that it won't. I mean, Splatoon. Like, I didn't think it would like be a bomb or anything like that, but I didn't think Splatoon was going to be nearly as popular as it was.
right. I mean, I don't even know if
Like,
Nintendo thought Splatoon was,
I
and
am
that's
wrong
kind
all
of
the time.
that is one thing that's sort of interesting. Again, to sort of go back to that 2017, when they had to, there was an immediate sequel to Splatoon. There was immediate like partners, more kind of. There's one big partnership though, of course, but like there were more partnerships. Like Atlas is going to make us an exclusive game, and No More Heroes we're going to have No More Heroes is going to come back, and yada yada
Right.
yada. Whereas here they didn't have they didn't have the Atlas exclusive like they did for Wii U and for Switch, but sure had another one that got a lot of people talking.
Bloodborne 2. I mean, wait, what did they call it again?
The Dusk Bloods.
Yeah,
So
sorry, not Bloodborne 2.
people were immediately like thrilled and then deflated when they learned it's a multiplayer game. Um,
I did think that that was weird.
it is a little weird, and apparently it's
PvPvE.
because Miyazaki's gotten real into Tarkov. So this is a Tarkov like. Well, it uses obviously Bloodborne esque,
It is a
controls,
spiritual
whatever.
successor to Bloodborne in all ways that I can think of.
Yeah,
To the point where I think even Max like got a little bit of a wait a second. Like if his heart didn't stop a little bit when he first saw it,
yeah.
like a tiny bit.
So, so I'm not the biggest FromSoft guy. So I mean, Bloodborne's one of their best games, 100%.
Yes.
I'm not really interested in multiplayer. We'll see, because they're actually going to talk about it on Friday. They're going to have a sit down with Miyazaki. So we're going to learn probably a little more actual concrete info on this. This is their only game, by the way, that for the Switch 2 that is next year.
Right.
For context, they announced 2 first-party games for the Switch 1 for 2026 a week ago, and they only announced one, and it's not even an internal game, it's a partnership game.
Yeah.
So let this sink in. They are holding back their Switch 2 announcements, which is kind of the one thing where I'm like, well, this was kind of interesting because they were kind of reserved. They were way more reserved this time than they were for the Switch 1. With Switch 1 was like, we have to shoot on all cylinders. We have to announce everything. We really got to win everyone back. Where this was like a lot more like, okay, here's what's coming out in the first 3 months, and you kind of know what's coming out in the first 6 months, and we're not really going to talk about anything beyond that. In fact, we're barely even going to talk about anything for the first 6 months.
I will be excited to see what their holiday season lineup is going to be.
Well, here's the thing. I think we already know, and here's because the first I'm like, oh, we don't know. Like they're going to have they're going to have big more reveals here. I'm like, I don't. Then maybe they're not because this year is going to be Kirby Air Riders,
Right.
Metroid Prime 4, Pokemon Zazaza.
When is Donkey Kong? Donkey Kong Bonanza.
Donkey Kong's July, early July. It's like a month after the system comes out. And then they're going to ride Donkey Kong and Mario Kart till the end. You know, they'll just kind of like be their evergreen. So Metroid, Pokemon, and Kirby Air Riders is their fall lineup.
You got so much of what you wanted. You got a 3D Donkey Kong game.
You know, I thought about that.
Another Kirby game.
I was like kind of like angry. I was like angry. Like, you know, I would cancel Metroid Prime 4 again for another Donkey Kong game. You guys just got Dread. We haven't had a new Donkey Kong since 2014. And I was like, and then they literally came out and said, oh yeah, we have a new Donkey Kong. It'll be out before Metroid. So I won. So I won in the end. Like I was like, yes. Like not only did they announce a brand new Donkey Kong game that's coming out literally in 3 months, 4 months before Metroid Prime 4. So suck it.
It's sort of beautiful. And then there's gonna be a 007 game.
Yeah, well, they re-announced the 007 game. But
did I just forget about this?
Oh yeah, everyone did, dude. Because it was the same thing. Like IO Interactive got the rights to James Bond. We're gonna make a James Bond game years ago.
They didn't do like a full-blown announcement, right? They just talked about it.
No, they just said literally was just a logo. We're making this. And that's all we're saying. And that's all they said today.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, you know, they showed a CGI barrel.
Wow.
That's hot.
They're just kind of reiterating, like, yes, the James Bond game. What a weird thing to run after. Like they went out and got IO Interactive.
Yeah.
To be like, hey, give us that Hitman game and make sure that James Bond game is also on our system. Like, see, I totally get Fire Access or Firaxis.
Yeah.
For Civ 7 was like, this was the biggest no-brainer. Like, obviously put Civ 7 with mouse support. That makes all the sense in the world. That made a lot, that made a lot of sense to me. Yakuza 0 getting a director's cut, which I'm curious to see what that entails. Part of me thinks it might just be animating cutscenes that weren't animated originally, you know. But if there is new content, interesting, because Yakuza 0 is a fantastic game.
It's the best Yakuza game. Well, yeah, that's one I've played so far. I haven't played Like a Dragon yet, and that's supposed to be.
That's really good. 8's really good too. 8's really, really, really good, and Like a Pirate's definitely top 3 as well.
But
yeah, 0. What a great starting point, right? Like,
right.
Hey, launch the system with Yakuza 0 director's cut. Like this is a great entry point for new people.
It makes me wonder though, where in the process did they come up with the mouse idea? Like, was the mouse reactive to, hey, there's a bunch of games that would probably be good if we had the mouse?
Yeah,
or did they decide on the mouse to attract? Like because
well, they have an interview right now, a 4-part interview. About the creation of the system. So
that's not why did I thought that came out. I thought that was coming Friday as well or something.
No, it actually came out today. I thought so too, and then I saw it on their website, so I'm like, oh, I guess it's here.
All right, yeah, I gotta check that out because one, I mean, none of the announcers that they ever have are particularly effusive. But one of the guys in there, he seems like a scamp. He seems like he's more amped than the other two.
Yeah.
And so I'm down with finding out more of what he did. But
So the producer, Koichi Kawamoto, I'm looking at it, literally looking at it right now. And he said, speaking of key elements, Joy-Con 2 controllers can also be used as mice this time, right? This is also a feature that's been nurtured for some. Is this a feature that's been nurtured for some time? And Kawamoto, the producer of the system, said it wasn't in the initial planning. But when I was playing a PC game using a mouse, the idea struck me that maybe Joy-Con controllers could also be used as mice. Switch 2 was originally designed to support a wider range of games by improving the system's processing speed. So with that in mind, I thought it'd be better to be able to play interesting games that require a mouse. Implementing mouse control that's widely used nowadays in the Joy-Con controllers isn't that costly. And I think that's exactly what lateral with thinking of withered technology is all about, which Nintendo's obsessed with, which I think is almost becoming a mistake, because they lateral think to until the heat death of the universe.
I don't know.
I thought it was
Lateral thinking is
I thought it was a really great idea. So I proposed a technology development department, and they were like, "Oh, we've been thinking about that for ages." So the R&D department was like, "We've been thinking about it for ages." So he's like, "Okay." So the producer says, "You should do that." So the guy in the head of said, "We assumed it would come up eventually, so we'd been keeping a close eye on the technology that could be used to make it happen. This time, I think we were able to propose a solution at just the right moment." So yeah. Switch screen supports touch. When you change to TV mode, the touchscreen function is not available. Same goes for Switch 2, but I think the mouse functionality can also serve as a substitute for the touchscreen, as it allows you to point. This is Dota, the director speaking. It allows you to point to a spot on the TV, similar to the cursor for the Wii remote, although it's not quite the same thing. So yeah, it was kind of like the producer had this thought while playing on his PC, went to the R&D department, and we're like, "Yeah, we've been thinking about this forever. We were just like hoping you'd eventually come around and say yes to doing this. So yes, let's do it."
So it's a little column A, little column B. It's that's interesting. Speaking of the dock,
has a fan in it this time.
Has a fan in it. Upscales.
Yeah.
You have like 2 USB-C now, so one it's for the camera, but like being able to charge like both ends. So if you're playing at a table, or what I bought it for, playing on like an airplane, way easier.
Oh, you mean like on the top?
Yeah, the top charger. Or
yeah.
I don't think even when I finally get this system, I'm going to get the camera.
We have no
Right.
no reason to buy a camera for this thing.
But
to be honest, I am never ever going to use the chat functionality on this. I don't use party chat on PS4, PS5, Xbox. I don't use any of that. I only use Discord, and I only talk to people I know. And I'm not about to go out and try to get a bunch of other people's friend codes or whatever to play in the chat mode. I'm not using chat mode. If you're excited about chat mode, have a blast.
Well,
I will never use it.
People that are like, I don't understand why they did chat mode, and I'm like, well, they're very much about that like couch co-op experience, and this
like they
seems
said,
like them trying to find that.
What they said was literally the thesis for YoVideogames. We're just trying to bring the whole hanging out with your friends on the couch talking about video games, playing video games back,
right?
Through online. So yeah, I mean, I get the mentality. I get the reasoning for it. I'm not going to use it because I already have a setup for this.
I would be interested because I know that we have listeners that have kids. Like they're of the age that have kids, and I guess their kids would be like Gen Alpha, right? And I mean, I have nieces and nephews that are Gen Alpha. How much do they crave? Because a lot of their social interaction happens online. Most of their social interaction.
I think what the problem with this is going to be is how fucking badly it performed on their own video,
on their own stream. Yeah,
in their own stream, it looked like it was performing like absolute crap. I think most kids will probably just flip open their phone and just like talk on their phone, FaceTime, or just speakerphone at the phone in their lap or whatever.
Well, I'm just wondering if there's if they crave that, is that like a thing, like being able to see your friends while you play? Is that
I think if they crave that, they've already found a workaround with phones and Discord.
maybe
My personal antidote here,
maybe
but
we're talking about like 10, 11, 12 years old or
I
younger?
mean, that's the thing is, as a parent, I would not be buying a USB camera for my
Yeah.
10-year-old.
I mean, that's a whole other thing. I mean, I'm sure there's plenty of parents that were horrified by that idea, but my point is like, does Nintendo see a market where these 10, 11, 12 year olds that get most of their social interaction on the internet, like, is there a market there where
I
they're
think
like,
so
yeah, I wish I could
because
see my friends?
I mean, reality is like all three of them have been chasing this. Like they used to have the Connect, and remember, like Xbox turn on, Xbox turn off.
That's true.
Sony put the share button on
Yeah.
the PS4 and put the share button on the PS5, and you can. They had the whole clip that Xbox clip
Well,
that, PlayStation send a clip to your friends.
yeah,
The
that I
clips will go
understand.
on the game's homepage. And now Nintendo's literally doing the same thing. Make a clip. You can just set up a video chat. You can help walk your friend through something. You can
Right.
party chat while your friend's playing another game, a completely different game, you can see him playing his other game on his party chat feed, and then go in and like help him while you're playing your own separate game. So
That's what I was wondering. Like the other stuff, yeah, people want to interact, but I was like, do kids want the couch experience? Like to me, in my mind, I'm like, yeah, I love. We used to do game night every week, every
yeah.
Thursday, 7 p.m. Everybody showed up to a friend's house, and there'd be like 30 of us
Yeah,
stuffed in a tiny apartment.
the difference is though when we're all looking at one TV, we're not looking at each other.
Right.
This is like you're seeing face to face, like your other like talking, which makes it a bit of a different experience.
Yeah, I think it is an interesting idea. I wonder how much it's going to get used. That's
Right. Because here's the thing: people don't remember this. Video chat was a thing on the Wii U.
right.
The Wii U tablet had a camera and a microphone, and you could literally video conference. You could video chat. There was a whole thing built into the
But not
system.
while playing the games, right?
I don't think so, no. But like video chatting, you could do the microphone, but you could
Right.
video chat tablet to tablet on the internet on the Wii U. Nobody used it.
Yeah, I wonder what the market is for it. It's
The,
cool that it exists.
if anything, it's going to be really interesting to see what is the ultimate use. Because I looked at this and just said, okay, great, you're thing, Nintendo, how generous of you to be massively supporting the OnlyFans,
Oh man.
economy, because now people will be selling their friend codes to watch them play Mario Kart naked. So,
Oh man.
like,
I hope not.
good job, Nintendo. Like, surely this
God.
surely couldn't possibly go poorly in any way, shape, or form.
That's a good segue to logistics because there's going to be titties on that stuff.
Like, could you imagine like the dad is like friend codes because he paid for the friend code of someone on the side, and then the kid
Oh,
is later playing it, and it's like, oh, this friend's on, and they log in and just like, oh, my milkshakes bring all the boys to the yard. Like, you just see like titties or dick just flopping like in their chat connect window, and it's like, Dad, who's your friend here? And it's like, oh yeah, this is great.
I luckily I don't think I'll ever be in that situation, but there is a whole lot of comedy just right there in how much just that moment before you answer.
You
What do
know,
you
some dude is gonna sit there and have the camera like pointed in a way. So instead of like the outline of his head or upper
just
torso, it's
Johnson?
it's
Yeah.
just gonna be his like erect penis
Yeah.
sitting there with a little control. Like, when have a little hand in front of the controller, in front of the penis, just like, and it looks like a big dick is playing Mario Kart and just.
It's going to be traumatic. It's not going to be great.
I can't believe Nintendo is famously shy about things. Because remember, Nintendo had Flipnote Studio on the 3DS, and they canceled the whole thing because the potential was someone could be in proximity of someone who had Flipnote and drew some lewd images on the little touchscreen.
Right.
So they were so worried about like the proxy chat of someone like contacting, well, we have parental controls on this. That is not going to stop anything, and you know it. So,
We're going to find out is the thing. Like no matter what, we'll find out. All right. So back half of the episode. Well, instead of transitioning directly into logistics, because I know everybody wants to talk about price, and we're going to talk about all that. I want to talk about, so your number one game, was it Donkey Kong or was it Air Riders? Like,
I don't
which
give a
one
fuck.
were you most?
I don't care about Air Riders at all.
Oh, I thought you would be excited about
No.
Kirby.
Kirby Air Ride's a game I've tried to play multiple times, and I'm just like, I don't.
But it's Sakurai. It's your boy Sakurai.
And I don't get it, man. This was this is kind of like a beautiful. It's sort of like a nice, heartwarming story that this was the last Kirby game he ever worked on was Kirby Air Ride. Before he left HAL. And so he's coming back to work on Kirby Air Riders, the sequel, so many years later. The most interesting thing about it is one, that they're actually they're going ahead with it, but two, he clearly does not want to tackle the Smash Brothers issue. Like, he has no desire. Like, hey, well, where do you go from Smash Ultimate? And he's like, I don't know, Kirby. I'm making Kirby Air Ride.
I mean, but
I want to deal with this.
There was a pretty clear thing where he said, like, Smash is done. It's done. That's why you handle it. You just don't do any more of it.
Well, I think there is an answer, and this will go more. We'll talk a little more about the logistical stuff, but the upgrade path. I'm more convinced than ever now that what they're going to do next year is they're going to announce Smash Brothers Ultimate with an upgrade pack for Switch 2, and that will literally be your season 3 of DLC that never happened for Smash Ultimate. And it'll just be the same game, and there'll be an upgrade path. There'll be an upgrade path DLC like they're doing for the other 4 games.
Right.
For Smash Ultimate next year. I think that's what's happening. There is no moving on from Ultimate. You just add to it. That's it.
Right. Or it'll be Mario Kart 8 for a while.
Sure. Fine.
And then in like 2 console generations, they'll finally have a new Smash.
But so they are adding a DLC campaign to Kirby and the Forgotten Land on August 28th. And that is very exciting for me because Kirby and the Forgotten Land is one of the best games on the Switch. So that's getting a DLC campaign. That is pretty awesome. And I found out finally it is $20 for the upgrade path. We'll get into that. But yes.
Pricing's wild.
And then of course the other one is Donkey Kong Bonanza. EPD Tokyo is doing it. I'm excited, but it's also kind of like interesting in the sense where I'm like, okay, the last game or the last time EPD 8 Tokyo team did Donkey Kong, they did Jungle Beat, and Jungle Beat was a Donkey Kong platformer that obviously that featured none of the other Kongs, no Diddy, no Cranky, no Dixie, and no Kremlings. And once again, they're coming back to Donkey Kong for Bonanza. No Diddy Kong, no Cranky Kong, no Kremlings. There was a short segment that looked like they were recreating a level from the original Super NES Donkey Kong Country. It's kind of cool. We'll see where they go with that. But hey, they're making a new 3D Donkey Kong game where he just beats the shit out of everything.
Literally everything, yeah.
Which is, again, very Jungle Beat. It's very much sort of like a weird spiritual sequel to Jungle Beat.
But no bongos.
But no bongos. And I was just saying, like, wow, it's like a Red Faction game. And everyone's like, yeah, Red Faction Gorilla. Red Faction 2 Gorilla is real.
Yes.
I mean, I love the idea though of just sort of like plowing your way through stuff because it gives you it just seems like such a visceral, satisfying game to play. And the movement looks great. It just looks like a really fun, enjoyable kickback. Yeah, I'm just gonna wail around on shit like left and right here, and pound my way to the center of the earth or whatever.
Ape fucking your way to the center of the earth. Gorilla fuck something.
I'm not a huge fan of DK's new face.
It's based on the movie, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's definitely trying to go a little bit more towards like the original 1980s arcade look. He's very expressive, so I can give him credit for that. So, and strangely, not an $80 game, but a $70 game, I guess. So
yeah, cheaper than everything else that's going to be coming.
Not necessarily. Well, so okay, so Andrew, come on. We are ignoring. There's 2 things, and we haven't talked about it. And I'll just talk about it real briefly. Download play coming back from the DS, wonderful.
Yeah,
they're literally
cool.
split fictioning.
Cool. Yeah.
Split fiction, and it takes 2ing games where like 3 of your other friends can download the game and play it as long as you're playing multiplayer. only one person has to own a game multiplayer. That's going to take a lot of sting off of all the other multiplayer games. Now, not every multiplayer game is going to do this, obviously, right? But
But
that's
it is very cool. Yes,
it is a very cool feature. They should definitely make more use, not less use of it. And then the other one is GameCube.
I'm stoked about that.
GameCube coming to NSO is
people.
pretty great. Actually,
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of people really happy about this.
Well, because GameCube had a great library.
It did, and like, I mean, okay, so Wind Waker's coming on it, which kind of seems to kill Wind Waker HD ever coming back. I guess that remaster is going to stay on Wii U forever.
I guess, yeah.
But Soul Calibur 2,
yeah,
online
F-Zero.
with Link and F-Zero GX on day one. It's like, that's pretty awesome.
Pretty sick.
That's pretty cool. And they showed a list of other games coming, like Luigi's Mansion, Chibi Robo, what have you.
So were those games that are coming, or they were just showing the library?
No, those are coming. The ones they showed in that little like scroll are games that are coming.
We'll get another Resident Evil 4 version.
Fire Emblem. I don't know about that because it's already
No, I know
that won't happen because it's available to buy, so they won't do it. But like Fire Emblem on GameCube. So here's a path where we can get Twin Snakes back on modern hardware. I think that's going to happen. I think Twin Snakes and Skies of Arcadia. And here's the big one. Think about this. They could do it. Phantasy Star Online.
Oh, I thought you were going to say iNinja. Greatest game.
Well, that too, I guess. And
no, but Phantasy Star Online would be cool.
And Eternal Darkness,
I'm surprised that they didn't give like a Twilight Princess or
that. I think they're saving that for way later. Like they're going to start with Wind Waker and then they'll do like Twilight Princess way at the end.
We didn't get there's a bunch of Ubisoft games that would have been.
Yeah,
cool,
there's
kind of weird limit.
As long as it's a game they seem to have no interest in revisiting, like F-Zero and like Soul Calibur for Namco. As long as it's one of those games.
13. iNinja.
13. But yeah, you know what else? And no one's going to talk about this, and I feel like I got to get this off my chest.
Second sight.
There was Arcade Classics 2, very briefly where they showed Ridge Racer.
Yes.
Ridge Racer 1, the arcade game, is going to be on Switch 2 at launch. I don't think people understand how much of a fucking dick move this is by Nintendo to Sony. Because people think the Bloodborne thing is, and it absolutely is. The Bloodborne thing is literally Nintendo like putting its dick in front of like Sony's face and saying, do something.
And Sony's going to do nothing.
And Ridge Racer as being like they're sort of like, hey guys, what's our classic game what's one of our brand new classic games from the new eShop? Ridge Racer, the original Ridge Racer, and we're stealing Bloodborne from you because you won't do anything with Bloodborne. So, and by the way, Dusk Bloods is a Nintendo published game, so that is never leaving the Switch 2.
Right.
So this was very much like this was Nintendo coming into the cafeteria, punching the shit out of Sony and stealing its money.
Coming in and taking a bite of their pudding.
Yeah. Grabbing the bun off their burger and just going and just like spitting a loogie and then putting the bun top back on.
Genuinely, the Dusk Bloods thing where it's just like I watched direct. I didn't watch you or Max stream it, and it's the Dusk Bloods and the Donkey Kong thing. I was just like, I should have been watching them. This would have been a great reaction because I thought it was going to be a Bloodborne game until like about a quarter in.
Rob's like, there's no way this can be. Sony owns Bloodborne. What's going on here?
Right?
Like, did they buy the IP off them? Like,
I thought there was sometimes where you're like, there's just no way. There's no academic way that they're gonna like. You just know it. But every now and then, a little bit of hope rises up. That's what happened to me. Where I was just like, it's too early here. It was earlier for you, but and my dog's freaking out because I'm going, oh, just early morning. But I don't have neighbors.
But yeah, GameCube.
Scream all I want now.
But yeah, GameCube on NSO to me is fantastic. I'm really excited about Soul Calibur coming back and F-Zero getting online proper on GX.
Soul Calibur is your favorite fighting game, right?
Hell yeah! Like Soul Calibur 2 is absolute. So 1 and 2 were absolutely one of my all-time favorite fighting games. So, yeah, wonderful. But like, let's talk logistics here because, The system
prices
is
are rough.
$450 and $500. It's $500 for the bundle with Mario Kart.
Which makes the
Which-
most sense to get if you're going to
It
get
does, because it's $50 more. But the game's not $50. Mario Kart World
80.
separately is $80.
90 if you
Now,
want physical, apparently. is
in
what I'm
Europe, America, it's 80-80.
seeing. Ugh.
80-80 America, but it's different in Canada and Europe, and there's really no way of saying this. Why is this system so much? It's tariffs. And here's the thing. This isn't conspiracy or anything, because Shuntaro Furukawa, their president, literally told them, investors, at the end of January going into February, that he wasn't super concerned because he had moved most of the manufacturing of the Switch 2 to Vietnam, and I think Taiwan maybe. There was one other country, but most of it was being moved to Vietnam. Today, on the same day, Vietnam is getting a 46% tariff on all
46%.
goods coming out of the country, and Cambodia's getting like a 49%. So they're getting hammered, and they probably had to anticipate that they were going to get hammered one way or another.
I don't
on
know
a
if this
thing.
is still true, but Thailand was the #1 manufacturer for like solid state cartridges, thumb drives,
Mm.
stuff like that. When I went to Thailand in 2014-ish, I remember like walking through a street market, and there was just a table with all the high-end USB, like SanDisk, all stuff for, I mean, just dirt cheap in like scuffed packaging. And it was just like fell off the back of the truck stuff, I guess.
Yeah.
So I got like in 2014, I think I have it somewhere. I got a compact USB, like 256 gigabyte, like tiny USB drive for like $8. It was amazing. So I think that's where they're manufacturing the cartridges. But
Either way, every country,
everything got hit. Yeah.
every country, including except for Russia, of course.
Yeah. Well,
But every country, including islands that have a population of 0. So I linked that to you on your
yeah, I saw
your
that.
message.
The penguins.
It's getting hit with tariffs, so they're clearly offsetting. And then $80 for Mario Kart. Now, Nintendo's greedy, but like this is kind of insane that they're charging a $20 more than standard for Mario Kart. Now, part of me is like, this is definitely trying to get people to buy the bundle. Like, this is a strong arm you should be buying the bundle. You're an idiot if you don't buy the bundle. The problem here is that this is not just a sort of one-off, if you will.
Right.
Because we saw Walmart go ahead and just tell us what the other pricing was going to be for the other games. Again, Donkey Kong Bonanza is $70, which to me is also kind of like, that's high. even for me, I feel that's a little high, but
it makes me wonder how long it is.
Yeah, I don't know. It's hard. Yeah, I don't know. One thing we still don't know, is because it's a digital only game, is that Tour of the Switch 2, which is a paid tech demo. What the
Watch it be
absolute
$70. Watch it be
paid? Why? It's not built in. It's paid for some inane, stupid reason. Anyways, God.
insane. No, I know.
Absolutely insanity. I don't think. Okay, I don't
Not
know.
even as fun as 1-2 Switch.
I don't
which was
think we
also a
know.
paid tech demo.
I don't think they said what Metroid Prime is, but like Metroid Prime 4 is probably going to be $70 on Switch 1 and $80 on Switch 2. More than likely. Kirby in the Forgotten Land with the Starcross World on its own is $80, because here's the rationale is it's a $60 game and there's a $20 DLC being added to it. Now, if you own the game like I do, you can pay $20 to get the DLC. Thereby, it's still an $80 game.
Right.
Zelda, which doesn't really get much other than a resolution and a frame rate bump, is a $10 upgrade.
Oh, you can send your friends things with QR codes.
Right, you can send QR codes of how to do stuff or whatever. They added a GPS to your phone, but it's $10 per Zelda game. So Tears of the Kingdom is $80 on Switch 2. Breath of the Wild is $70 on the Switch 2. 8 years later, the $60 game is now $70 game because hey, it runs at a better frame rate on this new
Yay.
system. If you want that better frame rate. So this is scum as fuck. And I don't think there's any way for me to sugarcoat this. There will be many defense forces out there, defending this idea, but both Xbox and Sony did not do this.
Right.
Xbox had a free upgrade path. Sony had a free upgrade path. When you buy a game on the PSN store, like say God of War or Horizon or Street Fighter or whatever, you literally you get both versions of the game. You just choose, you have both, and you choose which one you want to download. Nintendo is literally charging you extra money just to play a slightly, they're for Zelda in particular, they are charging you a $10 upcharge to let the game run at a better resolution and frame rate on the new hardware. Whereas not even Sony or Microsoft is doing this. They let you freely upgrade your games or freely download both versions. And here's the other kicker. They didn't raise the prices on them.
Right.
Sony did raise the prices to 70. I'm not ignoring that part about it, but they didn't raise the price from between them. There was no price difference, right? It wasn't like, well, you could buy the cheaper version of Elden Ring on PS4, or you could pay $10 more for the PS5 version, right? So they weren't doing that. It was usually like it's the same price as the same price.
I do think it puts a damper on what was a very good direct, very good launch announcement. I have seen nothing but people saying that it's like, this is too much of a bummer. Like the system costing $450, most people are like, yeah, all right, I get it. Personally, I still think 400 is that magic number, but tariffs. But everybody that I've seen talk about the price of games has just been like, ugh. Like at best, people are like sucking it up and they're going to pay it. But most people that I've seen have really been like, no way. So I don't know. But it is very funny to me that some people are like, yeah, I'm just going to wait until it's a bargain bin. And it's like, well, then you don't know Nintendo. Then you don't know Nintendo. You know what I will say? I did not expect the 90-80 thing. I also didn't expect them to have cheaper digital only games. I thought they'd keep the price the same.
I mean, digital for $80 for a digital game.
Wild.
And here's the thing. Shintaro Furukawa is an accountant. He is the president of Nintendo. Because they had Kimishima interim. Because Iwata passed away, and then there was about 3 people who ran the company as really, really temporary. Miyamoto was one of them, and then Kimishima was the interim CEO, and then Furukawa has been the de facto president of Nintendo since then. This is a man who grew up in accounting, and this is his first test. So we are seeing what does an accountant, and this is what an accountant does. Now, I don't wish. I don't blame him for being handed a really shit sandwich.
Yeah.
At the time. But here's the thing. I keep saying that. The economy as of this recording, from all possible viewpoints, looks like it's about to crash. Things are about to get more expensive. Things have been going expensive. Things are about to get worse, way worse. And now Nintendo's decided that Mario Kart needs to cost $20 more than the last one. It needs to be an $80 experience.
Right.
Unless you buy their $500 bundle for the new system. Mr. Accountant here is coming off as Ebenezer fucking Scrooge and a lot less like Iwata.
Well, it makes me wonder
a lot less like Iwata.
How aware do you think Nintendo is of like American economics?
Very aware, because this guy did the accounting for NOA.
Oh, so he would definitely be paying attention. Part of me is like, we aren't the center of the universe, but we are also the largest market for video games. So part of me is like, no company out there
He's
is
even done something shrewd where he has a region locked version of the Switch 2 releasing in Japan.
right.
So there's 3 versions of the Switch 2 in Japan. If you want, and there's a cheaper than 450 version for Japan, but it is region locked
Right.
just for Japan. So if you want to buy an international version in Japan, you have to pay what is equivalent, to 450 or so.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't think there's any world where Switch 2 doesn't sell well.
No, I mean it'll
Um,
sell well, but he is not like this guy is not Iwata.
Yeah.
He is not thinking of what is the best possible experience. He is thinking, how can I squeeze the most
The
possible
most
fucking
money.
money out of people, even in an economic dire strait. I have always been
Yeah.
weary of him, but I think today pretty much confirmed my ultimate fears. And like this guy is Ebenezer Scrooge. This guy is an accountant. I'm reminded heavily when Mario Kart is $80. And and Nintendo, of all people, coming off the success of the Switch, off of selling you ancient tech at full price, never dropping it for 8 years, they, of all people, could have eaten this at 70. They could have been a little scummy and just been like, "Yeah, it's 70. Yeah, it's still it's PS4 gen, but it's 70." Because they're not even doing that. They are leapfrogging the PlayStation 5 cost of games. They're going beyond that and being like $80 standard.
Well, it's a return to 90s costs, right?
Right.
It's like, but does
Oh
that
boy,
mean that?
buddy, let the good times roll because Japan's bubble economy did real well in the 90s. No, not really.
But also, like, people bought way less games in the 90s. So I've seen the defense where people are like, yeah, it's just a return to the luxury pricing of the 90s. It's like, right, but then people buy less.
Right. Have you seen the attach rate? They post them publicly.
Right.
Like the Switch 1 and like the Wii and even the Wii U had an amazing attach rate. We're not going to get a good attach rate this time, are we? No. Like this is murdering the attach rate
It
for the
makes
new
me
system.
wonder. It makes me, I mean, we won't really know until like summer or even fall how bad it necessarily
Well,
is.
here's what I said. You won't really know if this is going to be a detriment to the system or not until 1 year from now, until January, February, March 2026.
Right. Because the financials will all.
Right. Once we know, because that's what happened to the Wii U. Wii U came out in November, December. Oh, it's doing great. It's selling out. And then January, February, March hit, and all of a sudden, no one bought the system after that. After the first holiday rush ended, no one cared anymore about that system, and it never recovered. So you're not. This thing is going to sell out. Scalpers will be there just because and the first holiday season, people are going to be clamoring for Mario Kart World and
Mhm.
Donkey Kong and Pokemon and yada yada. It will sell out through the holidays. It is January, February, March of 26 when the real answer of like, is this thing priced beyond?
Right.
Because again, there are 10 million people alone who will buy this system no matter what. The Wii U sold 13 million hardware units in its whole life. That is your baseline. So that is your bottom. Like how many diehard Nintendo fans do you have? And I'm like, you have about 10.
10 million. Yeah.
You have about 10 million people who will show up no matter what.
So if Switch 2 bombs, let's end on a high note. If Switch 2 bombs, do they just go back to leaning on Switch 1 real hard?
I don't.
Start
Well,
developing new things for Switch 1?
I mean, again, they are still making a lot of Switch 1 games, which might be their fallback position. I think the most likely scenario is a repeat of the 3DS, where the 3DS came out at $250 and it resoundingly kind of was met with really tepid enthusiasm. It was so bad that within 6 months, Iwata personally decided to drastically drop the price of the system and then give people 20 free download games as an apology for those who early adopters who paid 250 when he had to drop the price to sub 200 to like 100, 160 or 170 or 150, something like that. He had to chop like
Right.
70, and then he was like, as a way of apology, I'm giving 20 free games to all those people who early adopted.
20 games though is really high.
I mean, they were Super NES and Game Boy Advance. It was Game Boy Advance. And
Oh, right. Okay, yeah.
whatever it was. So I mean, it didn't cost them truly anything, but it was still like, well, here's 20 free games that they never sold. So, but yeah, if this thing does, if the price does scare away enough people, I think that he will resort to price drops, but he may not be able to, because we live in a world now where we have stupid tariffs. We have exorbitant tariffs for no reason, which may prevent him from doing a price drop. But so what I think, okay, so how do you
So is
navigate
it
this?
damned if it does, damned if it doesn't?
So here's how you navigate this quagmire. They start chopping the price of digital downloads. That's what probably happens. Digital versions of games drop back down to 60.
I read like a snippet, maybe it was on Twitter or something, that digital downloads of games has 25% more profit margin than physical.
Yes.
That's the difference.
25 is actually kind of high. I would have thought it'd been 20, but yeah.
So they can cut 25% of the price and still make the same profit margin as a physical copy.
Right. So I think if this thing really, if the price really is an issue for most people, and I totally get it if it is, like, god damn, that is $80
Pretty rough.
$80 for a game is like, what are you fucking thinking? I thought you were an accountant, not a financial vampire.
Well, accountants aren't necessarily good businessmen.
Apparently,
You know, and I'm not saying that he isn't a good businessman. I'm saying it's
We'll
just because
see,
he's an
but
accountant doesn't mean that he's.
this might be Furukawa's folly.
That'd be a good name for it.
We'll save that name if it does sort of like peter off. But my guess is his response will be to just start drastically cutting down the price of digital downloads, not physical. Digital downloads. Like, he'll drop Mario Kart World down to 60. He'll drop Donkey Kong to 60. He should be dropping those Switch 1 games should be dropping down to 60. Like, absolute charging $80 for Tears, 70 for Breath of the Wild, just for the Switch 2 version, which, by the way, is a cartridge of the old game plus a download code, as you can see on the box. It is asinine.
It's insane. Yeah. Well, we're gonna find out. We'll all find out together. But overall,
But again, in a vacuum,
good stuff. Yeah,
the games look cool. The pricing is
rough.
Asinine. It's asinine pricing. It is asinine and irresponsible in this like uncertain economy.
Well,
to
it
be
means
doing
like
this to people.
I'm not getting it at launch. I know I'm not. Like I just can't afford it yet. But hopefully, somewhere down the line in the next 6 months, I'll be able to get it.
Yeah, and I think for most people, they're kind of like, "Oh, I'll wait." Like, "Oh, I'll wait for games to go on sale." And I think you were just kind of like, "Bro, this is Nintendo. Nintendo games will never go off sale." But yeah, again, it graphically didn't look like amazeballs or anything. But they're putting Star Wars Outlaws on the damn thing, so that actually counts for something. That's a very intensive game. So
yeah, now the other 24 people that wanted to play it will get to play it. Actually, I've heard that it's pretty fun.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
Yeah, I've heard that it's pretty fun. I'm sorry. I'm being a bully and I don't want to be. On that note, though, we do have patrons to thank. If you're interested in becoming a patron at any level, please check out patreon.com/YoVideogames podcast. Dude of the week was Gamma Gantle. Thank you, Gamma. And our producers for this episode are Dragon Wolf Makoto, Osnite, Zybernite, Scrunami, Koroi35, Hyper Viper 89, LCL Mayhem, and Ziggy Z. Thank you, dudes. We'll catch you next time.
Later, dudes.